How's it going? I'm Ryan. Today I'm going to go over the one trade that I took on NQ and the one trade that I took on ES. I took the ES trade first. It was a loser. I really didn't implement proper risk management and had a bigger loser than I should have. Came back, took a trade on NQ, ended up slightly positive for the day. So we'll get into those in just a second. In fact, I'm going to shift over to ES since that's what I traded first, and we can take a look at that. We're on the daily time frame here. We closed the daily candle above this long-term support that we've had. It looks like we're kind of getting a breakdown in the after hours, so we'll see how that plays out coming in tomorrow. But we had all-time high in the pre-market and pretty much just a sell-off throughout the day. So we'll take a look at, well, I'll back it up. We'll take a look at some of the things I was watching. So as we're coming off this all-time high in the pre-market, we kind of had this breakdown, our all-time high in the after hours, I suppose, and this breakdown in the pre-market. I was watching for this area to hold, which was an area of support on the previous day that we hit an all-time high, turned to resistance once, twice, 3 times, 4 times once we were under it, and then had some price action in that area last Thursday as well. So was watching this area around like 5.310 to 5.312 or so. Below that was this big level of support that we had, support, a lot of bounces off that area, broke below, acted as resistance here and here. Once we broke back above, we found support there before we, made this move up. It was also right around last Thursday's low of day. So that's around like that 5.300 to 5.302 area. We had this long-term support trend line to the downside, and then this next zone was 5.287 to like 5.289 or so. What I was watching for is if we could hold this. I was watching for a hold here to be a lower high and get continuation to the upside. If that broke, I was watching for a bounce in this area, or just try to catch a piece in between these zones. You can see that we broke down through this zone, ultimately into this zone, and kind of held that, and we're sitting there in the after hours. So let's take a look. Let's see what we did. Like I said, in the pre-market, we started to kind of break down. Held this first zone initially off the open, got a little bit of a bounce, then we sold through pretty violently. 8 o'clock we had news, and we have a massive bearish engulfing candle on large volume as well. We get a bit of a bounce from that area, continue to sell down into this next zone, and this is where I took my first trade. So this zone was one that I was really watching to hold a support around Thursday's low, and this, resulting zone as well below it. Just this general area I was watching for a bounce. I expected something more along this line when we got down here, especially because we had a higher volume green candle come out of this. We came back down and we tested it, and once we formed this hammer candle here, I entered a call expecting a bounce. So I entered calls somewhere in the mid zone of this range here, around 5.300. I was tentatively going to stop out at 5.298, just below the previous wick and below this zone, as that would invalidate my trade. I wanted to give it a little bit of range in case it just kind of wicked below and moved on, like a little bit of a sweep of the low and then continuation, or not continuation, but a bounce and a reversal. So I did want to give myself a little bit of room here. So that's why I was kind of eyeing that 5.298 level for a stop. But where I went wrong is I didn't place the stop. I kind of had it as a mental stop, and I didn't place a physical stop on my broker. So that was my problem, because when we broke down pretty quick, and we dropped, 6-7 points pretty fast. And that resulted in me having a much larger loss than I should have. So let's take a look at the 1 minute chart as well, and we can kind of see again why I was thinking that we could get a bounce here. So this is how we finished, where we had that 5 minute candle. We see this massive volume here as we hold this zone and close above. Then we see more volume kind of as we wick down. I got in somewhere down around in here. and I was targeting tentatively just this swing high. So nothing too crazy, I guess close to like a 6-point swing on MES. That would have been about $30 profit. I was targeting this level. So originally it was like a $13 stop loss if I put my stop loss right here from where I entered. So a little over 2 points. It was about like little less than 3 points, 2.5 points, I suppose. So that risk reward, I like that. But like I said, I did not actually place a stop there and ultimately ended up taking a much bigger loss. So that was my risk management was poor here. My idea, we can also say that my idea was not ideal, right? We were in a downtrend. We were forming lower highs, lower lows, and you can see how that played out throughout the day. So trying to time a bounce, trying to time a reversal, so be it. You can trade that, but you have to have your risk managed properly, which I did not on this trade, because if that trend continues and it doesn't reverse, you see what happens. When we broke pretty quick, and I took, instead of a $13 loss, if I had actually placed my stop here, I had a mental stop. When we broke down, I waited, I saw us break past my initial stop. I gave it another 30 seconds or so to see if we would kind of bounce and I could get a better fill. But we did not. We continued down, and I ended up taking a $27 loss on this trade. So not great at all. What it should have been is about a $13 loss for, about a $25 to $30 profit. That's what I want to see, about a 2-to-1 ratio. That's usually what I shoot for. So yeah, first trade, not so great. Once I got stopped out, I just took a step back, realized that we were in a downtrend. I was fighting the trend, and I was watching NQ as well as ES at the same time, and I noticed that we were forming a nice setup that actually allowed me to play the trend. So ES was in a downtrend, NQ was also in a downtrend, similar. We were right in here once I had been stopped out, right on ES. I noticed that we were forming a bear flag here, and this was my second trade of the day, and ultimately what brought me to positive on the day. So NQ brought me back. I noticed we were downtrending. We had formed a lower high. We had a nice bear flag forming, and then I watched on the 1 minute. Additionally, we're below this zone, right? So I'm watching these zones to act as support if we're above them, resistance if we're below them. You can kind of see how that plays out, right? We come down, bounce in here. Once we're below it, we come up and retest and fall through, come up, fail to reclaim this zone, start dropping again. I entered I guess my entry was a little bit higher, so I had it drawn somewhere in here, and I entered on this candle right here. So we are kind of breaking down, coming up and retesting. I entered on this candle. I sold on this when we broke low of day. It was a 15-point move, so it was a $30 profit here. My risk was a little less than 10 points. So I was, or a 15-point move, $30 profit, I think I said that. So I was risking above about like 18,500, entered somewhere in here. So maybe like an 8-point risk, depending on right where I entered. And I got out right here when we had broken low of day. So a little like a 1.5 to 1 risk to reward ratio. I could have held on a little longer and hit down here, and that would have been a nice like 2 to 1. But at the time, I was coming off a losing trade. We had broken low of day, and I was up, and I just secured that and walked away. Overall, we did make our way down to that next target, which was Thursday's low of day. So we had some chop in between. Not mad that I didn't hold through that. I took that initial move off that momentum of the flag break and ended green. So first trade of the day, fighting the trend, not using proper risk management. Second trade of the day, trading with the trend, having a clear idea of where I wanted to take profit when we hit that low of day. It happened pretty quick. This is a 1 minute chart. You can see that we broke through pretty quick. So I sold a little bit below low a day, but risk reward was a little bit clearer here. luckily, as soon as I entered, pretty much things dropped, so didn't even need to really worry about the stop, as we didn't even come close to it. But that was a better trade in terms of just trading with the trend and having a better trade setup. So NQ brought me back, ended up slightly positive on the day. I'm up $3. Like I said, that first trade should have been a $13 loss. This was a $30 gain. Should have had a pretty nice solid green day with that proper risk management. Had I placed that stop and followed my plan, I did not, and that's what happens. So small losses, big wins. Even if you trade 50-50, that will make you profitable. Today, I was lucky to be profitable, even with sloppy risk management and a bad stop loss. So that's all I got for you. That's the only trades I took today. A lot of these setups were pretty nice. These initial kind of break and retest of support. This one especially, the same thing happened on ES and NQ, so we can take a look. Came up, break, retest, continuation. ES did the exact same thing. I was kind of hesitating watching that. I didn't pull the trigger. Same thing, right? Came up, break, retest that support, continuation. That was pretty nice on both ES and NQ. Had the exact same setup. Didn't take that. Was kind of kicking myself a little bit because I was eyeing it. I was watching it. I just kind of hesitated. So would have been much better off taking this trade than the bounce down here that I did take on ES. But nevertheless, we pull it back. We're kind of setting up for an interesting day tomorrow if we continue this sell-off. If we continue to break below this long-term trend line on ES, this support that we've had for months. So we'll be back tomorrow. I do trade live Monday through Friday. I'll be here all week trading, making these reviews and just trying to learn, trying to take better trades, understand what works, what doesn't. And just get familiar with futures as I continue to trade these. So thank you very much. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.